Welcome to our NFL picks against the spread for the last time this year. As the season finally comes to an end, we made it. Even though we had an NFL season in the midst of a pandemic, we are here. Although the teams may not be unscathed with some COVID issues, but I don't think that'll impact the line. It is 3 right now, start at 3.5. The Kansas City Chiefs, the defending champs, are the favorites. Let's start with the game before we talk about everything else, Gilo. Who you like with that number?
It's hard not to like the Chiefs with this number. And for me, that's going to be the way that I lean in this game. And it really comes down to the offense. I mean, it always does with the Chiefs, right? Patrick Mahomes, the way we saw him perform against the Bills was remarkable. There was no after effects of any possible head or neck injury. There was no impact of the toe injury. He looked better than he's looked all season, and that offense looked better than it's looked all season. And Tom Brady is going to get a lot of attention. Obviously, this is his 10th Super Bowl. But for me, what this matchup really comes down to is how the Bucs defense is able to perform against the Chiefs offense. Can the Bucs front seven, which is among the most talented in the NFL and really caused Aaron Rodgers a lot of problems in that NFC title game, can they take advantage of some absences on the Chiefs offensive line and get after Patrick Mahomes? And even if they do, can the secondary, which was torched by Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill in Week 12, the last time the Bucs lost this game, keep up with Hill and Kelsey and McCole Hardman and all the other options that the Chiefs have? And that's what it really comes down to for me. And so when I think of all the different scenarios, it's just going to be so hard for the Buccaneers to put it all together enough, both on defense and then for the Bucs to keep up on offense. There's just so much that has to go their way. I expect this will be a close game. Every Brady Super Bowl eventually somehow comes down to the last minute or 2 minutes of the game. But I'm going to lean with the Chiefs here just because there is so many ways they can beat you, and they just step it up in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. And not only are there so many ways that they can beat you, but the ways that Tampa Bay can win, their real strengths. The Chiefs have answers to those things. They have the ability to overcome those strengths. Devin White is a great player on the interior, just takes away your run game, takes away your linebackers and your tight ends in the pass game as a linebacker. The only problem is corners can't cover Travis Kelce. So the fact that you have a great linebacker who can cover most tight ends, well, Travis Kelce's not most tight ends. He's a better route runner than most wide receivers. Tampa Bay is able to get pressure. Pressure doesn't bother Patrick Mahomes, unfortunately. And he's almost the same when he is pressured. His QBR this year, including playoffs, when pressured, it's 75.6, which is pretty good. When not pressured, 88.5. So we saw the Bills try to bring some pressure. Didn't really bother him, even though we weren't sure how he would be with that foot. On the flip side, Tom Brady's only kryptonite is pressure. And Josh Allen, the QB who had done really well against the pressure, struggled when Kansas City was able to get home 2 weeks ago. Brady's QBR, when not pressured, 83.3. Really, really good. When he's pressured this year, it's 10.6. So I just feel like the matchup between the two teams, the Bucs' strength, the Chiefs are so good that they can overcome those things. The strength that the Chiefs have, specifically defensively, I don't think Tampa Bay is good enough to be able to overcome those things. And Styles makes fights. In a weird way, I almost feel like the Buccaneers are very similar to the Niners team last year that the Chiefs were able to overcome and beat, except I like that Niners pass rush better than I like this Buccaneers pass rush. I think the only difference is I think Tom Brady is a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. But we'll see how good he is given, the 18 years and 45 days difference between the two starters. He might have to channel young Tom Brady to be able to pull out a victory on Sunday. But I do think, though, that offense and Brady may have a big day, which brings me to my next question. The over-under started at 57, and it's now at 56. Do you see a lot of points being scored on Sunday?
It's hard to imagine a scenario where we don't see a lot of points. These are two of the highest scoring teams in the regular season and in the postseason. They've been able to score 30 points pretty easily. one thing that gives me pause on the over, though, is that we haven't really seen the best of what the Bucs offense has to offer. They still haven't hit full stride in any of the games. I mean, just think about the NFC Championship game when Brady turned it over 3 straight times. That's just not going to fly against this Chiefs team, who will be able to turn those into points, unlike the Packers did. So if the Bucs aren't able to really find their groove on offense, they might not have Antonio Brown, and we don't really know what the running back situation is with Ronald Jones, or if they'll go with Leonard Fournette most of the time. So I really have some questions about whether we'll see this Bucs offense hit full stride. But I do lean with the over, just because when it really comes down to it, these two teams can put up a lot of points. But I do have some question marks. So that's the most on the fence answer I probably could have given you. But I think I would go with the over, just because on the whole, these two teams can score a ton of points.
I'm taking the over, especially after, seeing these two teams face off earlier in the year and the amount of points that were scored. Mahomes and Hill had a big day in the first quarter. And so certainly I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. These two quarterbacks combined for 78 TDs. They're going to sling it. They're going to have big days. But you mentioned Brady and his penchants to have some turnovers and some high turnover days. That gives me more confidence that there's going to be points, because if you give Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs a short field, they're going to light up the scoreboard. So I'm not sure where the points will be coming from. I just think that a lot of the drives are going to end up in points somewhere. So I'm going to take the over as well. But when you think of the game script and how this game might go and the potential avenues that both teams have to success, you start to think of, okay, well, if either team wins, who's going to be the reason, right? And that takes me to the MVP odds. And naturally, the guy who was MVP a year ago, Patrick Mahomes, leads the pack at plus 110. Obviously, if the Chiefs win, you could see that certainly happening. Tom Brady right behind. He's got a couple Super Bowl MVP trophies in his cabinet, plus 350. And then behind him is Kelsey, a long shot, plus 1,500. Is there anyone in that front three group that you like? Or is there someone else? Maybe you go for volume and take a defensive player at plus 1,900. Is there anyone else you go with in terms of who could be a potential MVP?
Obviously, it's really tough to bet against either of the quarterbacks being MVP. It's just so often we've seen quarterbacks, regardless really of which offensive players tend to outperform them, the quarterbacks just end up getting MVP as a result of winning their team the Super Bowl. But I really like Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill in this spot, because Travis Kelce, like you said, plus 1,500, Tyreek Hill plus 1,600. That's really good value for two players who not only have they been lighting it up in these playoffs the last two games, but Tyreek Hill had 270 total yards against the Bucs in Week 12. If he does that in the Super Bowl, he has to be MVP. So if you're looking for good value for an MVP pick here, I like either of those guys, because they can both have big days.
See, I disagree, because if those guys are having big days, you know who's also having a big day? Probably Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
I think the narrative is going to give it to him. Like Tyreek Hill, I think is a bit of a different case, because he could have a punt return, he could have a reverse, he could do something to change the momentum, a real wow play. So maybe at plus 1,600, I would maybe lean in his direction over Kelsey at plus 1,500. When you look at Mike Evans at plus 2,900, Chris Godwin at plus 3,200. Like at this point, you're just throwing, anything against the wall that sticks. I actually think if you're looking for value, you do go for a defensive player at plus 1,900, because whether it's a Devin White or a JPP or a Honey Badger, I could see a defensive player making a couple plays to swing the game and them end up being the MVP if it ends up being a game that's a little bit more low scoring than we thought. And with the musical chairs, with the Chiefs' offensive line, and certainly you mentioned the availability issues of some of the skill players with Tampa Bay, it might be a little bit more of a low-scoring game than certainly I think it'll be. So if it's not one of those quarterbacks, I would actually go for a defensive player. You get some volume, as it could be multiple guys potentially making a play. The other thing is, okay, no matter who wins Super Bowl MVP, the next question is, who are they going to thank, right? Who are they going to give a shout out to? I'm not sure if you can have a write-in vote for Bill Belichick if Tom Brady wins and just takes like a sly shot at Big Bill, but
Imagine.
you got. Oh, I would love it. I would love if he
That'd be
thanks
amazing.
Alex Guerrero, like his TB12 like co-founder. That like it was nice that you were able to actually work with the team this year.
Yeah, exactly.
But you obviously the teammates is the leader in the clubhouse at plus 250, and I should note that does include the coach as well. If you want fans or city, that's plus 300, 3-1 odds. God is plus 500, 5-1. I don't know how God feels about the fact that the fans and the teammates are in front of him, but that's a different discussion. And then we're getting into family members, but I'm actually going to throw one out there, family members plus 600, that I really think you should take a look at, and that's healthcare workers at plus 900. I think given the year, you might see some value. But before we bring in our version of God, producer Drew, to hit us up with some random prop bets, let's end the discussion on the things, I guess, between the white lines, even though this would happen after the game. Who do you think is going to be thanked first? And you have to think about who do you think is going to win, and thus who are they likely to thank?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going with my bet, and it's going to be the Chiefs, and it's likely going to be Patrick Mahomes who's taking that MVP trophy. I love the healthcare worker idea. I think that's that would be, not only would it be amazing because it's the most well-deserved thank you that could be given, but it's good value. But I like family members. I think in a year like 2020, everyone's needed their family, and so that could be another good one. I think on the how bad was 2020 vibe, we could get some really good value.
I agree. I think happy wife, happy life, certainly. And whether it's Tom Brady thanking Giselle or Patrick Mahomes, who's recently, who's not that recently anymore, but has been not too long ago engaged, child on the way. I think that's a smart bet for him as well. And I think it's going to be when the QBs is the MVP. So I think it's going to be the QBs of the household that get the props. The QB of this segment is producer Drew, who, unfortunate for you, whose face you don't get to see, but whose voice you will about to hear, as he's going to hit us with some curveball props. What do you got first, Drew?
All right, we'll begin with the first one, which is very common in a lot of Super Bowl parties. I know a lot of people won't have those this year, but it's a common prop bet. Heads or tails for the coin toss?
Life's proverbial question. Heads or tails? I don't know about you. I'm a tails never fails guy. I just like to keep it consistent, always go tails. So I'm not going to change now. I'm going to go tails. Where are you leaning?
Yeah, just to be the contrarian of the group, I will go heads. Yeah, I like it. There's no good rhyme, that goes with heads, but it never ceases to be an uplifting land for heads. You get the good face, you get the ball, you get the good luck.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get to the point where we're not flipping an actual coin, where it's like, randomly generated by like a computer, or you have to like ask Alexa like if it's heads or tails and like that. Soon we're going to take everything and put technology towards it. But for now, we're still going to flip a coin to start a football game. What do you got next, Drew?
I'd much prefer rock, paper, scissors. Just
yes,
I think that's a way better option.
Imagine the drama. Imagine the analytics of like, in elimination games, said quarterback is 0-3 and rock, paper, scissors to start.
Oh, it's such a mental game too, that you totally be in the other guy's head.
Yes, I love that. What do you got, Drew?
All right, next one. The odds on the primary color of Tony Romo's tie. We got blue at 2-1, black at 4-1, red at 4-1, gray at 9-1, and then the field at 6-1.
Wow. So two teams wearing red. You generally don't want to wear a color of the team on the field because you don't want people calling you, biased or not impartial. But both teams are wearing red. I feel like it's blue though. former Cowboy. CBS's Blazers are often blue. I just think someone who is a conservative dresser, I think he goes blue. What about you?
I'd love to argue otherwise, but that's way too logical for me. Like I thought Cowboys color. So he's going with the blue, and then CBS too. There's just so much leaning blue in this one that I would definitely put some money on blue.
Yeah, if I cared, I would go back to big games and fast forward to the beginning of the broadcast to see what he was wearing. But
yeah, do some serious tape study.
Yeah. What do you got, Drew?
All right, keeping it in the Tony Romo realm, over under the number of plays Tony Romo correctly predicts in advance, 2.5.
Ooh, yeah, see, he's really tapered this down in recent years. So I think the number is going to be lower than expected. I'm going to go 4, which is, I'm going to go 5. I'm going to go 1.25, and I think in the fourth late, he turns it up a little bit. He gets excited for a big play. I'm going to go 5. What do you got?
Yeah, this is going to be boring because I agree. I think he's going to go high. I mean, he'll definitely go over 2.5. Not only is this the stage that Tony Romo wants to be on. The last time they were in a Super Bowl, it was 13-3. It was the most boring Super Bowl we've ever seen. He probably barely ever got a chance to call a play correctly. And the other factor is that they've already done these teams. They know them even better than they know the other teams. They did this game in Week 12. Tony Romo knows exactly what's coming, and he's going to show off. He's going to make it all about Tony.
I agree. He's had drives, never mind games, where he's gone over 2.5. Yeah. So I think the over is a solid bet.
All right, going towards the halftime show now. What do you believe the first song performed by The Weeknd will be? We got Blinding Lights at 4-1, Heartless at 6-1, In Your Eyes at 7-1, Starboy at 15-2, Can't Feel My Face at 9-1, Pray for Me at 12-1, and then The Field at 3-1.
So I actually, in hearing those odds, I've changed my pick, but you have done some crack research on this, so I'm gonna cede the floor to you. Go ahead.
Well, I wouldn't say I've done much research. I did look into these odds a little bit, and I think Blinding Lights is the no-brainer here, right? It's one of the biggest songs of the year, and it's the one they've played in every commercial for this halftime show. It would be kind of a, I don't want to say letdown, but false advertising almost if he didn't come out and play this song first. But I love Can't Feel My Face at 9-1. I think those are outstanding odds. So if you wanted to go another way, that's the way I go.
So I'm putting my producer hat on, right? Because it's not just about the best songs; it's about the sequence of songs. And Blinding Lights is a great choice, but I'm just envisioning an interlude, mid-performance, lights go down, black, change of costume, come back to a song, and all of the stadium won't necessarily be full, but all of the people who have had COVID tests, I suppose, who run on the field to be part of this halftime, and the few people in the stands are illuminated. They got like their lighters up, whatever, and then we got some blinding lights, literally. So I think that's like a 3-4 hitter in terms of the lineup of songs. Feel My Face is certainly one of the most well-known songs, but is that like something you start with? I think you're starting. I think that's a great one to keep the party going, transition from one mood to another. But I think when you're starting fresh. I think it's Starboy. I think it comes in very hard. I think it can come out of nowhere and get the energy up immediately. So I am going with Starboy just because I think it's not just about the song, it's about how those songs are going to work in concert with each other.
Wow, that is well thought out.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows if any of it has any logic?
All right, the last prop we got is dumping electrolyte-infused beverages on the heads of coaches is a time-honored tradition. But what color will the dumped Gatorade be? Orange at 2-1, red at 3-1, clear/water at 6-1, lime green or yellow at 7-1, purple at 11-1, or blue at 15-1.
Again, if I really cared about this answer, I would just go back to a year ago and see what was the color that was dumped on Andy Reid. don't care. You watching this can pause and Google and figure out what it is and let us know in the comments. My answer for this is somewhat the same. And I guess every year I'll bet on it and eventually I'll win. I love value. And it's not just electrolyte beverages on the sideline. It's also water. 50% of those jugs are filled with water. The other 50% is filled with Gatorade. And so if I know I'm for sure getting a 50% shot of having a jug dumped on the coach's head, and maybe if that other one is a clear flavor, I've got 100% shot, like I'm in business. So I will forever bet. You could just clip this, Drew, play it next year. I will forever bet on clear/water because I know I've got a shot. No matter what the other color is, no matter what the preference is of the equipment guy or the quarterback or the coach, I know I got a shot because there's always going to be water on the sidelines because like some beverages are a little bit stickier. You don't want to be drinking them mid-game. What's your answer?
Yeah, that's fantastic strategy again from you on these props. I think it really depends on who wins. It could be red if the Chiefs win, orange if the Bucks win. The pewter kind of look. But I like, again, value. I think at 7-1, lime, green, yellow. Like you can get three. Lime and green are essentially the same thing, but you get three colors all in one bet. So if I'm thinking, in the same vein that you're thinking. I'm going to get the biggest bang for my buck with lime/green/yellow, and hopefully I can hit on one of those.
Well, if it was just about what tastes the best, then I would agree, right? Like you're getting great value because there are many people who like a flavor lime/green/yellow. So a smart play by you. Thank you, Drew, for making this segment infinitely more exciting with your presence. And now you get to go to work and edit. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for interacting all year. This has been super fun. Enjoy the games safely with your friends. Hopefully, you're watching it socially distanced and responsible. But hopefully, you also make some money on some of these bets and just have a great time. We've had a great time breaking down the games with you all year. We'll see you next year.